Hello, welcome everyone to the Recruiters Hangout. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Today's topic is how are recruitment businesses attracting, engaging and retaining their talent. This is a Hangout topic we covered before this time last year. It's based around the Sunday Times Best Small Companies to Work For list. There are a lot of good recruitment businesses that have made this list, and as they're the experts in recruitment, we wanted to get them on here, a few of them on here, to talk about what they actually did to get onto this Best Companies to Work For list, what they went through, and to get some of their viewpoints on employee engagement, culture, workplace engagement, retaining recruiters and recruiting recruiters. We're joined today by Adam Metherell, from Commercial Director at ChapmanBlack. Thanks for coming, Adam. We're joined by Graeme Hubert, co-founder of Consol Partners as well. And we've also got to welcome back Kieran Behan, who's the Managing Director at Phaidon. Kieran was on the show last year. Thanks for coming again, Kieran. Just very quickly, the Sunday Times Best Companies to Work For list works around a measurement called the BCI measure. You can find out a bit more on the Best Companies website, but essentially it measures and it has a system of measuring employee engagement focused around management, leadership, the company culture, personal growth, teamwork, giving something back to community and corporate responsibility, I assume, and pay and benefits, and of course well-being. And there's surely a topic there, I suppose, around the importance of money and benefits versus the importance of well-being and being a good place to work for. I will hand over to, actually, one more thing. I've got to also mention, if you do want to take part, please use the RecHangout Twitter hashtag. Send us your questions, comments, and additionally, if you're here and you can see the Webinar Jam chat bar on your right, please do use it. Please post to it. Post your comments and questions. We'll pass them on to Alan Whitford. This Hangout is sponsored by Colleague Software, hosted by Alan Whitford from Abtech Partnership, supported by Mark Stevens from Smart Recruit, and Louise Triance, who will be keeping an eye out from UK Recruiter. Thank you, Alan. Over to you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our April Hangout. And good thing we weren't doing it on April Fool's Day, because no one would believe our topic. Along those lines, by the way, Louis, as long as you're in a control tower, as we flew into Heathrow yesterday and we did our circle for about 25 minutes, the pilot came on and said, "I'm sorry we're circling because they had to clear some white rabbits off the runway before we could land." And to show you what kind of state everybody in the plane was in, none of us got it. Okay, the whole plane thought it was real that there were rabbits on the runway at Heathrow, and that's why we were circling. About 4 hours later, it finally clicked through what he'd said. So I'm sorry we've missed the April Fool's joke at Virgin Airlines, but thank you guys for that. Right, so on to more serious stuff. Great companies to work for. That's a fantastic accolade for our guest today. What it comes down to is, hey, you're a good company because you've hired great people, and even more importantly, you've kept them. We're going to try and get under the covers maybe to find out a little bit about what is the secret sauce that you guys are using to actually make that happen. Of course, as much of that as you're willing to share with your competitors. We're going to kick off a little intro from each of our guests, and to our listeners, please either use the Webinar Jam chat stream, which is visible to everybody, or the our Twitter stream that Louise is monitoring. We'll try and incorporate your comments as much as possible. Going to look at my screen sort of left to right, and Adam, why don't you give us a little bit about who you are and what your company does and why you're there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Alan. So I'm Adam. I'm the Commercial Director here at ChapmanBlack. I've been recruiting for 16 years. I've got a mixture of both agency and also in-house experience. I joined ChapmanBlack as employee number 1 back in 2007. And right now we are focused on 4 key divisions within the business. We work across automotive, digital markets, executive, and manufacturing. We do that with about 95% turnover coming from Germany. That's a bit about our business.
Okay, that's great, Adam. Graeme, a little bit about you and why you're there.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Graeme Hubert. I am co-founder of Consol Partners. We're a tech staffing company. We specialise in technology that drives digital and internet technology. We founded our business in 2008. Myself, my business partner Mark Cohen, previously worked for Top 100 tech staffing company. and we've had very aggressive organic growth with self-funded business. And we first got into the Sunday Times Best Companies in 2014, we were number 49, and then last year we moved up to number 29. And the reason we went down the Best Companies route is previously we made the Sunday Times fastest growing tech staffing company in 2012, and that's all about performance and strength and growth of the business. But obviously, a big part of the engine and the fuel for that growth is our people, and we've invested heavily in building a culture. And so we were over the moon when we made it, first of all, in the top 50 on the first year, but then to get it again in both times 3-star accreditation, we were improving. And I just felt that whilst we may not be experts and have all the answers, there's some contribution that we perhaps can offer, maybe some insight for others out there.
That's brilliant. All right, thank you, Kieran. Graeme, Kieran, what about you?
Yeah, hi there. My name's Kieran Behan. I'm MD of International Business at Phaidon International. Phaidon International is the holding company for 8 separate brands. We cover a range of niche specializations, from energy to banking and finance to HR, supply chain, procurement. So quite a broad and varied business. We're very international in our focus, so we have 8 international offices. We placed in 59 countries last year. This is our 3rd year in a row in the Times Top 100, and it's our highest position we've ever achieved at 23. We did attend this last year, and again, just we thought it was a good opportunity to attend again and give some insights into what we've been doing to reach that level. Fantastic. So you guys are all there. You're experienced at this. You've been in it before, continuing to be in the top companies to work for. Let me just put a question to you and see how you might react to that. So you're number 29 or number 40, whatever the number is, and I'm a candidate looking for a job, and I might be thinking about recruitment. Why am I going to come to you if you're like number 29 in the list? Don't I want to work for the guys that are like number 1?
It's a good question. But it certainly helps with attraction. And the progression, I think, is important for us, certainly going from 46 to 29. We know that we've got room for improvement, and also, though, I think whether you're 1 or 29 or 99, you're obviously doing something right. And bear in mind, this comes from our staff as well. This is not a corporate application process that we've been through. This is independently audited staff members who are replying to a online survey directly, and so I think top 100 is pretty good when you think about how many companies are out there applying. I don't have the stat. Louis, you might have the stat about how many companies actually apply in the first place.
I don't, but I'll look it up for later in the Hangout.
All right, thank you, Graeme. Adam, your response, I guess, to the same sort of approach. Does it matter where you are in the list, or is it just the fact that that you're in the list?
I sort of echo what Graeme says. I think it's a good accolade to get into the top 100 anyway. Obviously, the higher up, the better. It shows a certain level of employee engagement. But I think you've got to look at it. It's not just a recruitment event. Despite there being 30 recruitment companies, I think in the top 100, they do dominate. But there's other organisations in there, so I think the 30 companies that were represented by or represent the recruitment industry have all done incredibly well to get there, and I think that anyone looking to enter the industry would be well placed to look at these 30 companies.
All right, Kieran, your thoughts?
Yeah, very similar. I think it'd be great if every candidate had the luxury to look at the top 100 and take their choice. But I think the reason we've all entered is we take employee engagement and career management of our employees really seriously. And again, this is an independent audited accolade that we go for. So the fact that we're entering and we're coming in the top 100 shows that we're doing things right. And again, the reason we mainly enter at Phaidon is to just kind of see if the things we put in place are transferring through to how employees feel, and making sure that the things we've come up with, the incentives and the programs that we launch, are actually helping us improve. And again, I think what we've seen being the last 3 years is that our positioning has increased every single year. So it gives us and all the team involved in employee engagement and career management here the confidence that we're doing the right things. And also, again, I think wherever you come, it's a chance for your employees to have a voice about what you're doing. And whether you came first or 99th, I think everyone who works for you values that. And again, the fact that it is the Times, I think, gives it a credibility that resonates with a lot of people.
I'd echo that what Kieran said. Sorry, Alan. I think one of the things that we've found was that yeah, kind of best companies to work for ultimately comes down to the culture of an organisation, right? And this culture is something that's really immeasurable. It's really difficult to measure if you've got a good culture, a poor culture, etc. And what the Sunday Times did for us was allowed us to measure our performance in a really structured way. And I think we found it really helpful, similar to what Kieran said, because you can also make changes and improvements.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Now, let's ask another question around this. We're talking about this potentially as an attraction, a benefit for attracting talent, and we know we need to have our good talent, our good employees in to our business. But do you feel this is more interesting for those people that are already in recruitment and that are looking maybe to make a move to a better company or a better situation, as opposed to attracting new people into the industry? Adam, want to have a bash at that?
Yeah, I think it's in terms of bringing new people into the industry, I think it's really useful, and I think it actually goes a great way to repairing what have been some of the old stereotypes about the recruiting businesses. You know, I remember when I got into recruitment, if I look at the level of structure, career development that we have here at ChapmanBlack, it's completely polar to the first recruitment business I started working for 16 years ago, where you were given a phone, a computer, a target, and told I'll see you at the end of the week. So now it's completely different. So I think that actually, to come back to your question, there's two things. Number one is it's actually great for the industry. It shows that we've grown up and we're taking our employees seriously and not as commodities. And number two, actually, the big thing for me was I felt great when we got in there for our employees, because it isn't just about the leadership getting into the business. It's people looking at their colleagues as well. You know, it's not just me as a director that's responsible for the culture. It's the guy sitting next to someone else. It's the guys in the operations teams. And I think actually it's more of an accolade for my employees that actually we've got a good bunch here that like working with each other, that look after each other and support each other's careers. And it's not just about the management. So from that perspective, it was a big thing for our existing employees, rather than bringing new guys in all the time.
All right, Kieran.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of that, it helps us on all sides. So if you look at, you know, we do tend to hire at the entry level quite a lot. So having the Times award against your name is something that I think is recognizable to people who perhaps didn't know the recruitment industry as well, but they understand what the Times Top 100 means. So I think it helps us at attraction at kind of entry level. I think in terms of, you know, similar to what was said before, you know, the guys take a lot of pride in the fact that the company does rank highly in these standings and it keeps improving each year. I think it does help the guys to take pride in what they do. I know people go home and tell their parents and friends and so on, and again, know that they've helped contribute to that culture as well as being part of the company culture. And then again, I think the fact that we continue to stay in it allows us to retain people, but also again, I think find other people in the recruitment industry who maybe looking at their company and going, you know, am I in the right place? Is this the right culture for me? And they can see a company in us who's not just doing it 1 year, one off, but actually increasing their standing year in, year out. So it is a great attraction tool. It's a great retention tool. And again, for people in the industry and outside the industry, I think it has a great effect.
Great, thanks, Kieran. Graeme, along that same theme, but are you attracting a lot of newbies that actually wanted to join recruitment and this helps, or are newbies just sort of falling into recruitment like most of us that got into recruitment probably did?
I'd echo exactly what the guy said. For me, actually, number one, I think similar to what Adam said, was the big thing is for our existing staff. It's a kind of corroboration that we're doing things well, and we do have this culture that's high performing and looks after our people. And then secondary, there is attracting talent in, particularly entry level, who, graduate level, who first step in recruitment. I think that's I think it's more of a tick in the box, doing something right. I think there's obviously graduates are in high demand, and particularly you compete with a lot of recruitment companies when you're trying to hire the best graduates out there or entry level staff. And I think it's just a tick in the box and a corroboration that we're doing something right. So pretty much echo what the guy said.
Alan, you're mute.
Sorry, yeah, but it didn't mean
Always
to.
once.
Yeah, it's always one. It's always me. I could tell everybody not to forget to unmute, and then I'm the first one to do it. One of the things, we're getting a little bit of Twitter chat and a couple people saying, well, yeah, are we really attracting great new talent, or are we just doing the same old as everybody else in the industry? Is there anything that really differentiates our companies other than the fact that we took part in the survey, as opposed to the other, 6,000, 9,000, 58,000 recruitment companies that we actually have? I mean, whatever the number is this week. So I guess I would ask you guys to discuss a little bit then, what is it about your particular company culture that does make you a great company to work for? Is it just about the money? Is it that you have a creche and you give out, free travel vouchers, those benefits? What is it that makes your company a great company to work for?
So for us, Alan, I think that thing culture, I talked about it being immeasurable, and it's almost been this self-fulfilling thing that's in our business. There's a couple of things for us. I think culture falls into two categories. First of all, there's the business culture that the business sets, the people at the top set, and then there's also sales culture. And the business culture is really about our values, and it starts with the values for us. Our values are really, really important. What do we stand for? What's our vision? What do we want to live by in terms of our engagement with our candidates and clients and stakeholders? For us, those were set at the early days. And the values of our company really becomes our persona of our culture. And it must run through the whole business, from attraction to retention to the ongoing management and then the development of individuals. But it's too easy for us to say, right, at the top, our exec team have got these values and we're all going to live by those. Actually, what's really important is that those are enforced throughout the business and they're bought into, which is where the second part comes, which is culture, sales culture. And the sales culture piece is really where the action takes place. The sales culture is where it really all happens, and every company, in our experience, has its own culture and persona, and that can range from, think about it in staffing terms, from your kind of Wolf of Wall Street boiler room culture of the old days right through to, at the other end of the spectrum, perhaps an executive search firm, or maybe in the middle, a digital Google-esque type culture. Everyone's different. I think for us, we're probably somewhere in the middle of high performance and but a lot of that sales culture is enforced by our leadership team, and we've identified 4 key areas. So what makes us different? Big investment in learning and development, but I'm not just saying that as an off the cuff. Every recruitment company has learning and development. For us, ingrained in the fabric of our business is learning and development. My business partner Mark is a Dale Carnegie Master Sales Trainer, so when we started the business, we had it ingrained. It's investment in people is really important. We have, 2 years ago, we hired a guy called Russell Bestwick, who's our head of learning, development, and performance management. We invest really heavily in training. Our training is endorsed by the Institute of Sales and Marketing Management. People come through our training program and they get a GMVQ level 2 accreditation. Really, really important, particularly with the graduate community that we have. So that's important. We push the graduate hiring a lot. Our experience is that it's better to grow our own, invest time and money in that. So that's really, really important. The opportunity piece is probably the second thing that we identify. It's no point just bringing great talent into the business, but they have to have a plan to be able to develop, and so we're able to do that, and have a structured program to take them from a graduate and a career path that gets them to a director of the business and prove that works and empower people to take responsibility for that. Third thing I'd say is probably transparency. We're a really, really open company. I think our people like that. Very happy to admit it when we make mistakes. We made lots of mistakes over the years, and our leadership team are the first ones that stand up and say, we got that wrong, we're really sorry, we're going to put it right. And then the environment, which I think we all have, which is a fun place to work, a work hard, play hard place to work, big open planned office with breakout areas and playstations, pub garden, all the normal kind of stuff. One of the things we say about our environment is that it's a serious place to have fun. So those 4 things stand out for me.
That's brilliant, Graeme. That pretty much sounds like a blueprint for everybody. Kieran, how does that relate, and how does that sound compared to what makes your place special? Why are you a best place to work?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think one of the points you kind of made in the question is that a lot of people go, everyone's just doing the same thing. and how do you know it's working, or why are you different? I think that the first thing I think people need to consider about that is, you know, there are similar things that every company would do, but it's the impact they have. You know, everyone might have a breakout area, everyone might have learning and development as a core of what they do, but is it actually effective? Does it make people want to join you? Does it make people effective in their job? Does it make them stay? So I think anyone who's kind of looking and going, well, you're only on that list because you entered it, probably needs to you know, go through this sort of process, get some feedback on their business to make sure that if they're doing these sort of things, they know whether they're working or not. In terms of us, to keep it really simple, I think the main golden thread that kind of runs through what we do is that it is a growth story, and that we put over 50% of the equity in the business in the hands of the managers. So it's their company, it's our company. We have a very clear goal that we always want to grow. It might sound quite simple, but you know, there is never a point where someone reaches in Phaidon where they can't move up, or they can't take on a new opportunity, or they can't learn a new skill. You know, anyone who's worked in a different industry, who has friends, will know that that's not what usual jobs are like. There's a certain career path for some. There's a certain ceiling you'll hit. There's certain, you know, parameters that will limit what you do. We just really emphasize to everyone that when you join us, the career path is made very clear to you, the expectations we have, and that the most important thing is we will make sure that we give you opportunities to grow and learn. Everything else, you know, very similar to what Graeme said. There's other things around that in terms of you know, incentives and holidays and kind of, you know, giving people training and development, but all of that feeds into the idea that we're a growth company, and we want to take people from, you know, an entry point in our company to leading the business and take it on to the next level. And if you keep making that clear and making it real for people, and people can actually see that's happening, I think the trickle-down effect of that is what's the most powerful for us.
That's fantastic. Adam, I hope they haven't all stolen your thunder and that you've got something a little bit different to add to the mix. Sorry, I left you for last.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit unfair to say that everybody does the same thing. I think that's a bit of a lazy accusation to make towards the companies that have actually featured in this top 100. Because I think, yeah, everybody invests in training and development, but, you know, to what extent are that training and development actually pulling through results and impacting the lives and careers of the people that are working for you? You can measure that by how fast people are progressing through your business. So the way that we do it, we bring people in at the entry level. They go on a 3-month training program, which is pretty intensive, that I actually run. So I am personally responsible for all of our graduate intake. That's how important they are to our business. We don't sort of hand it over to a training manager or whatever. I look after it. I use my experience to identify training and development needs. I'm constantly tweaking our training package so it never stays the same. I think the other thing as well that we do very well here at ChapmanBlack is what we call employee ownership. In that the guys that work for us actually own the business to an extent where we will have town halls on a quarterly basis and we say, look, right guys, what's not working? Tell us. You know, I'll stand up there with the CEO, they'll shout all sorts of things, you know, the CRM system is too slow, this, that, this. And we write down a list of these things, and then we meet a week later and we go back to the business and we tell them exactly what we're going to do to change the things that they had problems with and what innovations and ideas they have that we're going to implement and when we're going to do it. And we stick to that. So therefore, we're actually really listening to our employees. And the great thing about that is that then they sort of, every time they've got an idea, they see it actioned, they feel like they're really part of the business and they've got a massive say. The other thing is recognition. So success is very, very visible here at ChapmanBlack. We make sure that, you know, the top guys are celebrated, people's first deals are celebrated in a way, new people joining the team. You know, we're very, very, very visible the way that our guys are achieving things. We do a lot of company trips and incentives, and actually not only our top billers go on that, we let other people go on that have made huge efforts. They might not be the top billers, but people that are making real efforts to develop themselves, they also get to take part.
Can I ask a question, Adam, just to follow on from that point?
Yeah, please.
You guys adopt more of a top-down culture or bottom-up? I mean, you work more to celebrate the successes of the top performers and let everybody else aspire to that and sort of take the GE theory to lose the bottom 20%? Or do you work hard to try and build those bottom performers up to try and make them sort of medium to average performers?
I think that's a really good question, and I think as a sales organisation we naturally try and create an aspirational culture based upon our top performers, right? I think that makes total sense. But actually what we do is the guys that come in at the junior level, we invest in them heavily, and we don't make quick decisions around our guys. They come in, if you've got the right DNA, and if you've got the right hunger, desire, you're open for learning, you've got no ego, then we'll invest in you heavily and help you move up. I mean, I've actually got some team leaders here that, in their first 6 months, if I'm honest, I think a lot of other organisations may have let them go. But we saw something in them, we believed in them, we felt they had the right potential, and therefore we invested in them, and actually now they're leaders within our organisation. So I think it's a bit of a harsh answer, but it's a bit of both. We want to create aspirations around our top guys, but at the same time, we also have something here which might be useful for the other guys called a Rising Star Award, which means you're the fastest performer within your peer group from which start. So that's like, look, if we've got a bunch of guys starting in January, 6 months from now, we're all the top performers within that group. So that even the new guys are getting some kind of accolade, and they're not always being benchmarked against the guys that have been here 4 years.
Brilliant. Guys, just going to do a quick reset here so that everybody knows what we're up to. This is the Rec Hangout, and today we're talking about 3 of our companies from our sector that have been made the Times 100 Small Companies, Best Companies to Work For list, and they've all been there before. We've got Phaidon, Consol, and ChapmanBlack. Guys, we've got a question coming in from one of our viewers, Ruth. She wants to know what are the key attributes, skills, and expertise that you actually look for to attract this new talent. Because clearly, if you're going to be a best company to work for, you've got to get the people in. What are you doing to attract them? All right, Graeme, you want to kick off on that?
Sure, Alan. I guess the answer to that falls into 2 categories for us. First of all, if I perhaps look at the types of people we're looking to hire, and I'll put them into 2 categories, experienced and then entry level. And if it's okay, I'll just deal with those two parts separately. So it's really hard to hire good, experienced recruiters. I think Kieran and Adam would probably agree with me on that. It's tough to do that, and it's challenging to do that. And one of the things that we did last year was we actually didn't do very well at bringing in experienced recruiters. We had a strategy to bring in entry-level recruiters, graduate recruiters. Halfway through the year, we weren't making the traction that we needed to on our headcount, and we flipped our strategy and said, you know what, we're just going to go with the graduate model. We brought in about 40 graduates in our business last year in the UK and North America. So we had something to learn. We had to change that for this year coming into 2015, and we changed our whole strategy and invested in bringing on board a team to identify experienced hires. Experienced hires are all getting contacted by other recruiters about the same types of opportunity. What we're looking for are individuals that perhaps have come so far on a journey, and we can give them progression and opportunity and structure and training to move to the next level. There's no point having someone that's a senior consultant and offering them positions as a senior consultant. You have to talk to them about managing consultant, mentoring, team leadership, etc. So it all depends on their experience in that one. On the graduate side, again, it's really competitive, but we do a lot around university roadshows. We do a lot around engaging with graduates early in the process, sometimes 18 months in advance. We've identified the 3 key skills and attributes of what it takes to be a successful graduate in our company. And so drive, ambition, intelligence. And then in our interview process, pretty rigorous, we do not only face-to-face interviews, but we also do disc profiling. So we take some of the emotion out of the hiring decision. We personality profile every graduate that comes in, and then we match that against what we know our culture has and our successful people have. And that gives us something that's formal. It gives an analysis of the person's skills and attributes to be able to map into whether or not they're going to be a success. So, but the 3 areas, drive, ambition, intelligence, are key.
Fantastic. Adam, does that map how you look at it?
Yeah, I think we've had similar experience to Graeme. The hiring experienced recruiters is A, difficult, B, expensive, and C, sometimes it's hit and miss, right? So we've, over the last 2 years, focused more on the entry level, and the way we do that is we've got a recruiting team here, similar to Graeme. We've got links with universities. We've also done some pretty cool, innovative things like setting up football tours, where the ChapmanBlack football team take on some university teams. teams from other companies, etc. Really gets our brand out there, and I'd like to say we're unbeaten at the moment, which is pretty cool. I think these things also give people a chance to meet our team. I've got sort of 11, 12 guys out there playing football. The graduates get to see that actually they're a good bunch. They share stories about how successful they're being at ChapmanBlack, and that in itself drives applicants. The other thing as well that we do push quite heavily here, which is our single best source of hiring, is the internal referral scheme. And I'd like to link that back to the top 100 companies. If your employees are engaged, they believe in the vision, then really they are the best source of hiring for you. Get them to speak to their friends, get their friends to speak to their friends, and that for us has been a huge success for us. And just to add on to that, I mean, in terms of what we're looking for, I don't think it's an exact science in recruiting. I think the one thing that's key for me is you've got to have purpose. You can't be a successful salesperson without purpose. You need to be in the office for a reason every day. You need to be prepared to pick that phone up for a reason. There needs to be something that's driving you. And so when you interview, we really try and get less around a person's technical skills, but much more around them as an individual. So we do a lot of profiling, and we also match them up very closely and interview against our core values within our business.
All right, thank you. Kieran, it all sounds like these two guys have got it mapped. How are you going to get people to come join you then?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are doing some great things. I mean, I think to add to that, I mean, we've got an 8-person internal recruitment team across all our various hub offices. So we have internal recruitment in the US, the UK, as well as Asia. So they do a lot in terms of mapping the market. We have a 6-person marketing team as well. So a huge amount, particularly on the graduate end, is about getting videos out there about life at Phaidon, videos out there about what recruitment actually is, reaching out to people via different ways on Facebook and so on. So we do a lot of that. I think a couple other things just to put out there, I guess, that people would find interesting. One of the things we found really useful in all the regions we operate is we operate an internship scheme. So these are people either between university or just come out of university who maybe aren't 100% sure about recruitment, or maybe we're not 100% sure they know what they're getting into. It's kind of fixed 3-month program, really good way to have a relatively low risk opportunity for both parties to kind of test the water, as it were. And we've had some of our best hires come from people who initially weren't 100% sure that they knew what the career was, and by having that short-term exposure, that's really helped. Other interesting things we do, so all of our employees have some business cards which are actually blank. They basically say, look, I really enjoyed speaking to you. I think you'd be a great fit at Phaidon. They go around and give them to people they meet throughout their lives. So again, they find and refer their friends, but you have a good conversation with someone wherever it might be, at an airport or a party, whatever. They know the sort of people that would fit in here. So that's actually yielded some really good results as well. And again, we have quite a high incentive on the internal referrals. So again, the majority of our hires tend to come from people who we've hired or even people we've interviewed. And one of the things we really try and do in the company is, even if someone comes to an interview for us, even if it doesn't work out from either side, they leave really understanding what Phaidon is about, really understanding what we're looking to do, so that even if for whatever reason it didn't work out for them, they go out and they tell their friends, their family, their colleagues that they had a great interview at the company. It wasn't quite right, but they really believe in them, and actually we think it could be good. So we've done a lot of work internally with managers as well as our internal recruitment team on the experience that candidates get from the first phone call through to the first interview. And I think the really important thing to back up with that is giving people as much information as you're willing to put out there. The clearer you are about what you do, what you expect, what the job will be like, what the company will be like, I think that the better success you'll have in your hiring. I think where you can fall down is trying to just present the things you want to present, or again, feeling like people need to impress you. I think the market's changed now. You need to be as open and honest and out there as possible with what you're doing, what you have to offer, and why people should come and work for you.
Brilliant.
Sorry to interrupt, Kieran, I've got a quick question on that. So you've got an internal recruiting team. How do you connect that internal recruiting team to the leadership within your business? And how do they know exactly what they're looking for, what the expectations of the managers in your business are, etc.? How do you connect the two teams?
Yeah, so I mean, they sit on the sales floor and they come and speak to a manager whenever they want. So they'll have a weekly catch up with all of the managers that they're hiring for. Whenever any new internal recruiter joins the business, they sit down and have a one-to-one with every person that would potentially be hiring. And again, they get to know people. They come on all the incentives we have. They have an opportunity to come on the holidays. We don't treat it as a separate part of our business. They're as involved as they can be. We give them as much information as they need. And again, it's a collaborative process. The great thing about an internal recruitment team is they're here to help you and sell with you. So, you'll often see a manager and a internal recruiter sitting on a far corner of the sales floor, trying to work out how to pitch this team and that job to the candidate, and it works really well. So, I think communication and making sure that you don't just kind of say we're looking for this type of profile. We really emphasize that we do have a Phaidon type of person we want, but every time a new hiring manager is looking for a vacancy, they'll make time to sit down with that internal recruiter, talk it through, very much like a candidate and recruiter relationship would be for us externally.
I think that's good, and Adam, thanks for pinging in onto that question about the internal recruitment team, because I think it's quite interesting that you guys are focusing on your own recruiting. I've never quite understood this drive by recruitment companies to go to rec to get their own people. Surely this must also be something that you should be able to highlight when you go to your customers, that you're really great at recruiting your own people, and that would help you recruit for them. Is that anything your sales guys use in their pitch?
It's up to us. I mean, to be honest, it's not. I mean, we still do use rec-to-recs. I mean, they do have a value. I think particularly at the more experienced end and the more senior end, when you're entering to new markets. But our internal recruitment team is really there to finance the growth and fund the growth behind it. It is one of our USPs that we're an organically growing company, and the culture and the standard of work and the standard of the approach we have is universal. So we do explain to clients that we're not a hodgepodge of different companies that have been bought. We're not kind of people who've got different ideas as to how and what good recruitment looks like. If you're dealing with Phaidon or someone in the brand, the experience should be pretty standardized, pretty universal, and what you want as a client. So we do use it in that respect. But like I said, I think if you're going to be an effective company and grow, you want a good model that recruits the majority of your staff, your core kind of profile. You want to try and find a system and a process, and ideally maybe an internal recruitment team that delivers that. But as with any business looking to grow, the external parties, rec-to-recs, can provide that diamond in the rough that you hadn't seen, or that candidate in a market that you just don't know that well. So I think there is a balance, and again, it's just looking at when to use those external providers and when to rely on your own internal mechanisms.
Graeme, do you use much external resource, or do you focus all on your own recruiting efforts as well?
We use a blend. We use recruiters for experienced hires similar to Kieran, and then also internal as well. But coming back to your point, Alan, about clients, how important is the best companies for clients, the point you made. I think it's really important. I think it says something about the company that they're working with in partnership, i.e. us, and how committed we are in terms of looking after our people. Having something like best companies is another tick in the box. It shows we're doing the right thing. They're investing heavily. And it's a brand that our clients and candidates want to be associated with. So I think that's really important. I do think clients and candidates see value in that.
All right, and Adam, you kind of kicked the question over to Kieran. What about you and your internal external blend?
In terms of using rec-to-recs, I agree with Kieran. You can't discount them because these guys are out networking amongst experienced recruiters on a daily basis. When we need to maybe bring in somebody slightly more senior, we'd look at that. And actually, when we're going through a particular crunch, where we want to get the numbers up pretty fast, we engage rec-to-recs to help bolster the applicants.
All right, and how important do you think it is to your clients, Adam, that you do a lot of your own internal recruiting, that you've got a direct sourcing capability yourself, and that you are a best company to work for? Do you use those elements in your pitch to your clients?
So I think number one, the fact that we do our own recruiting ourselves, I don't really think they care about that, if I'm honest. They just care about how good we are at finding people for them. Number two, in terms of top 100 companies to work for, we do a lot of business in Germany, and the Germans like to work with serious companies. They like to know that the people that are on the other end of the phone, or the people that they're meeting, are a grown-up business that can work in a manner that they expect. And so therefore the top 100 companies has been great for us in that respect. Our clients kind of say, hey, it's great, we've been working with you for a number of years, And it's really great to know that one of our suppliers now is seen as a top company in the UK. So it's been good for us from that perspective.
Clients do value it then?
Clients do value it, yes, but they don't care how we recruit our own people.
I must say I find that disappointing that they might not care that you can recruit your own people before you start recruiting for them, but I guess I'm still in my ideal world that that they actually do care how we got to be what we are. But that does kind of go to the core of it, that you guys have got, and you know, all of you have had some very specific ideas about what you need to do to recruit the right people. You've got a drive to be a great company to work for. You're building that company culture. But it doesn't sound like it matters to your client, which is a little bit disappointing.
No, sorry, Alan, just to comment on that. I think you asked, does the client really care how we get our own people into our business? And if I'm honest, I've never really had a client ask, how do you hire your guys? Okay, what they care about is how we train our guys, how we manage our guys, how we kind of incentivize our teams. They care about the internal workings of our business, and how that benefits them and the service that we can provide.
They probably don't have a clue how hard it is to recruit good recruiters. And why would they?
I agree with that. I talk really, one of the things I talked about our values was transparency is really important. I talk really openly to, unfortunately, the few customer relationships I still have, I wish I had more, but the few customer relationships I have, about one of the single biggest challenges in our business is hiring. The irony of that for a staffing company, a fast-growing, successful staffing company, is unbelievable, but it is one of our greatest challenges. I spend 40% of my time on internal recruitment right now. It's big. It's a major issue for us. It's a big thing that we invest in, and so, yeah, I think it's important to be transparent on that.
Graeme, can you share with us perhaps some of the processes that you follow in your advertising and selection process to identify the right talent for you guys?
Yeah, sorry, Mike. Did you say the priorities that we follow? You just dropped out there, or?
Yeah, the process is, the key elements in your selection process. Starting off probably from where you advertise. What are you saying to attract the right people to it? I know you're getting some referrals and coming through, but do you guys ever look at industry sectors to try and find sort of industry expertise to gain that sort of credibility with your verticals and things like that?
Again, it differs for graduates to experienced. So if I maybe take probably the experienced part is more challenging, so maybe I'll try and answer that one. I'll try and give you an insight into that one because everyone's trying to do it. Of course, advertising doesn't work. I think you made a point earlier, which was if you're an experienced recruiter and you're doing well and you're successful, and chances are, particularly if you're a contract recruiter, it's going to be very difficult to move you. So we try and be really proactive. We invested heavily in marketing last year. We brought on board a global marketing manager so that our content and our image and our brand is much stronger, and it speaks about our values and our expertise and our niche. And then we target specific individuals. We actually talk to our clients and our candidates about those individuals. And we talk to them about who they work with and who they recommend. And then we try and target those individuals and talk to them about our story and our vision and what our aspirations are. So advertising absolutely doesn't work. For graduate recruiters, we use Milkground. We do a lot of university outreach. We use some of the job boards, sometimes works. But there's also a certain time of year when you get a higher quality graduate. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I think it does.
What about the actual selection process? I'm interested to hear all of you guys sort of, what do you put these guys through before you give them a job in your organisation? Because making a hiring mistake is expensive, as we all know.
We all make those.
Yeah, and I think Graeme did a pretty good, thorough job of that before you talked about how you're mapping and using selection tools and the various things you're doing. Kieran, are you doing a similar thing? You're putting them through profiling. What are those steps that you have in your selection?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think in respect to that, I'll talk about more of the junior end. So it's normally a 3-stage process with us. So initially, we'll reach out to them, or they'll reach out to us via social media and advert, whatever it might be. The internal recruitment team will do a pretty straightforward kind of half-an-hour telephone interview or VC interview. Really just covering off their background, their motivations, getting an understanding of how much they know about the industry, which is key, and then also really what their motivations are. So we can kind of boil those two things down together and work out do we think from what we know so far that they've got the right kind of ingredients to be a Phaidon person? The next step is they come into the office and they'll have a face-to-face interview with one or two hiring managers that we think they have the best cultural fit with. Basically, an interview then, which is a combination of standard interview questions and competency-based questioning. And then after that, if both sides are positive, what we do then is get them to come back in and do a work sample, which is pretty much a whole day at work. When we started actually doing work samples, they were only an hour and a bit. But what we realized is that the more time people spend in the company, I think the more they understand what we expect to give them, and the more we get to know them. So it's a bit of time out of a manager's day, and maybe when you're a smaller company, you could feel like, is it worth spending a day with someone you may turn down or may turn you down? But particularly at the relatively junior end or someone transferring from industry, the more someone can come and feel the vibe and the energy in the office, understand what a day's work in recruitment in your company looks like. We found that people who do that assessment day, if we're positive, by the end of it, they know they want to work here. And any competition, whatever, has been really pushed to the side. So I think that's something that, again, every company could probably take more time of. A lot of interviews are done just in a room with one person, and that's the only experience that candidate has of you and your company. The more you can open your doors, the more you can expose them to the realities of it. I think that the better the hire you're going to make.
I think that's a great concept, Kieran, and it's something I think a lot of companies should really take on board, bring them to work for the day. I remember one of my first bad hires in recruitment. The guy was brilliant in the interview, great education, could talk the socks off, he was fantastic, and his first day of work we put him on the phone and he fell apart. He couldn't actually talk on the phone. But if we had done that sort of, hey, let's do a day on life work here, we'd have seen during the interview that he couldn't actually be on the phone.
He should go into marketing.
Pardon me?
You should go into marketing instead.
Yeah, you should go into marketing. He doesn't have to be on the phone then. He can just sit behind everything. Adam, is that something you guys would try? Do you have them come in and work with you for the day to see how they might fit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Kieran was saying, I think it's really important that not only are we making sure that we're hiring people that we want to hire, but also that they understand what the job involves. And as Kieran said, we found the people that have come in and done trials for us, actually, funny enough, they hit the ground running really, really fast because as part of the interview process, they've tasted what the job involves. They then come in and they just understand it very, very quickly. So I think, yeah, that's key. The other thing I wanted to mention actually on the experienced hiring is I think you need to look at this a little bit like the way that we would work with our clients, right? So we know that we're going to need some experienced people over the course of the next 12 months, maybe even 24 months. And it's hard to get those guys out. They don't really apply to job adverts. So you need to start talent pooling. You need to start identifying high performers within your competitors that might not be looking right now, but when they do look, you want them to come to you. So that's things like reaching out and saying, hey, look, do you fancy going for a drink at some point? Let's just build a relationship. You might not be looking right now, but look, here's some contact details, a little bit about our business. And we've hired some really great people that actually probably, I think I remember one guy, it took us like 24 months from actually engaging with this guy to him coming on board, but now he's working as part of our business. And that's all because of that talent pooling strategy that we've got.
Can you expand on what you mean by talent pooling? Because a lot of people won't know what that means and how you execute that type of strategy.
So, yeah, first of all, we identify organisations from which we would like, candidates to work for us. Competitors, or even actually businesses that are not in the recruiting industry where they've got top sales guys, like some of the online fast-growing businesses like Groupon, etc., etc. So what we do is we identify those companies, we identify their top performers through headhunting techniques that we teach our sales guys and our internal recruiters, and then we reach out to them and we keep them on our CRM. We stay in regular contact with them. I personally, if I'm like going to meet a client or whatever in the city or anywhere, even in Germany, and there's a candidate that we'd like to work for our business, then I get in touch and say, hey, why don't we just catch up? I'm in town. Let's grab a beer and introduce our business, and we'll see if there's any common interest.
So do you track them on Twitter, put them in TweetDeck and stuff like that?
No, we use our own internal tools for that on our CRM system. So we put them into kind of like a talent pool.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that.
I've got a question for Kieran, if that's okay. Obviously, Phaidon been established for some time and have a big international network, multiple international offices. We've just started that journey. We opened 2 offices in North America last year. Kieran, have you got any tips for attracting experienced staff in international markets, international locations, being a UK headquartered global company?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, you know, it's challenging in the UK. It's even more challenging if you're not in a country and you're looking to hire the right people in. I think, you know, what we've always done well is go out there and do the research beforehand. So at least 2 or 3 trips to the location. And again, a lot of people would use those trips to go and meet their customers, which I can understand. But I think if you're looking at opening up somewhere, I'd be using those trips to go and have coffees, beers, lunches with recruiters in that market, even people who you know aren't the right brand coverage for you or market coverage. The more you can get into that country and understand what's the work mentality, you know, what are people doing, where are the hot areas, you know, what do people want from their career, the better. You know, like when we went out to Singapore, we spent, I think, 2 weeks just literally meeting any recruiter who talked to us, just to understand what the market was like, what people were incentivized by, and what the profile was, so that we knew who we could go out and target. So I think research and travel is one thing. The other thing that's really helped us is growing your internal recruitment team. So within the team we have at least one person at any one month dedicated to each individual overseas office. So again, talking about talent pooling, they're spending their whole day connecting with people in that market. So, you know, again, it is a longer process, but because you've got someone sitting internally whose job it is day in, day out to build these networks, build these relationships, you tend to find, again, you know, in about 6 months to a year, they'll appreciate the effort you've made and come back to you. But again, what we've done in all international locations is a combination of experience and graduate. And again, what we've tried to work out in each country is what is the graduate mentality. You know, what are they looking for from a career? It's slightly different in Asia to slightly different in America, slightly different again to mainland Europe. So getting that right. And again, that's been a bit more trial and error because you've got to go and meet some people. But you know, if you're looking at a challenge, you could spend a year, 2 years trying to find the right person in a country opening up. You could probably spend 2 or 3 months finding a good core of 5 to 6 young professionals who want to do it. And I think try and grow around them, and you'll find the ones you want later.
And does your global, sorry, Alan, is your internal recruitment team all headquartered in the UK, or do you have them in each of the locations? I guess it depends on the maturity of each location.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a trigger point when an office gets to a certain size. But so we've got a dedicated internal recruiter in Singapore, dedicated internal recruiter, well, 2 of them in America, and then the rest of the team are in the UK at the moment. But once we get to a certain trigger point within budgets and growth plans, then we look to hire someone in.
Right. All right. Thank you, guys. It's a good set of questions. Let's do a final reset. We've got just under 10 minutes to go. This is the Rec Hangout. You can be following us on hashtag Rec Hangout. You can be joining in. We've got about 30 or 40 of you out on Webinar Jam, but you've been a quiet bunch out there, so you haven't getting many questions in, other than Ruth and Russ. Russ is trying to bring one in. And our topic is about best companies to work for, and we got 3 great examples with the Consol partners, with ChapmanBlack, with Phaidon International. All have been in the list numerous times and have also been fastest growing companies and are prime examples of how recruitment companies are great companies to work for. I guess, guys, we're going to try and go in a little bit more closer to the wrap-up phase a bit. And I guess, to me, there's 2 things about this. One, you are great companies to work for. You've proven that. But do you feel it's more, it's not just about being in the context of being great recruitment companies to work for. You are great companies to work for. And when we're looking for talent, we're not just competing against necessarily other recruitment businesses, other types of sales organizations, other marketing organizations, or other companies that are in your hometown. How do you treat that when you're talking to your candidates about, hey, we are a great place to work? It's not just about being a great recruitment company. Adam?
Yeah, I think the way we do that is pretty simple. We get them into the office, you know, I think you need to de-risk it a little bit. Come and see us, come and meet a few of the guys, have a look around the office, even if it's for 10 minutes, just come and have a look around. And we're pretty confident that we've got a nice setup here, it's a fun place to work, it looks like it's fun here, the guys are all up on their feet, it's a pretty buzzy sales floor. And we often find that once people get into the office, their level of interest in working for our business really goes up. So our internal recruitment team de-risk it at the beginning. I think that's key. Like, look, we're not asking you to come and sign an employment contract. Just come and have a look. 10 minutes if you're passing. Just pop in, meet a couple of the team, and get a feel for what we're up to here. And that works very well for us.
Okay. Kieran?
Yeah, I think you are competing with other companies, but I think it's also, I think we always position ourselves as recruitment companies. I think it's also important to position yourself as a company in the general job market. What do you guys stand for as a company? What is your corporate goal, your vision, your aim? And like I said before, for us, it is the growth thing that we try and get across to people. And that in most other industries you go into and most other companies, they may be growing, but you'll be limited either by time served, lack of technical expertise that you've been able to gain in a certain amount of time, or whatever it might be. That there are ceilings and walls that will kind of slow your career down, and maybe you'll enter a graduate level on a higher salary and something more prestigious. But we're trying to grow a company at levels far faster than the household names. We're trying to give people responsibility far beyond what they would get in other industries and other careers. So like I said before, it's really trying to educate people that, yes, we think we're a great recruitment company, but beyond that, this is a great place to have a career, because you'll start off as a recruitment consultant, but as time goes by, you will be learning other skills around team leadership, business management, budgeting, so on and so forth, that, to be honest, in some careers you may never get exposure to, despite having a great degree and spending 20, 30 years in an industry. So that's something we're really trying to emphasize to people. And again, I think the reason why we score well in things like this in terms of fair deal and so on is that the guys do feel they get experience beyond just coming in and being a recruitment consultant and thinking that that's what they're here to do for us. There's a lot more, both in the short term and the long term, for them.
Yeah, Graeme, you're nodding your head in agreement there, I think, with Kieran. Is Consol just a great company to work for, full stop, not just a great recruitment company?
I pretty much agree with everything that Adam and Kieran said. So I don't know if I can add much more with them. I think they got it, they hit the nail on the head, which is why they're in this list and are at great companies. So of course you compete with other industries, and then you have to really pitch the benefits of recruitment. And then if you're up against someone that's interviewing at Phaidon or ChapmanBlack, you have to talk about why Consol do things differently. But the guys covered it. They have got great strategies and great execution and great companies. So I'm not sure there's much more I can add. I'm sorry, Alan.
No, Alan, I'd just add something to that. I think I had a call from one of the editors from the Top 100 from the Times, and she was saying, is it easy to get in there if you're a recruitment business? And actually, I said, no, I don't think it is. I think it's really hard. I think because it's a sales environment, it can be high pressure, and actually, it's not all happy, clappy all the time. Okay, but what I do think is really important is Graeme mentioned how hard it is to hire great recruiters, and I completely agree with that. And I think that's something that a lot of my colleagues experience. But I think that's a good thing in many ways, because it's driving innovation within our industry. We are a better employer because it's so hard to find employees. So when we've got them, we need to look after them, we invest in them, we train them hard, we give them great incentives, and we really look after our guys. And I think that actually is the reason that there's 30 recruiting companies in the top 100. Not because it's easy to get in there, but because it's so damn hard to find good recruiters that once they're in our business, we do everything it takes to make them successful.
Adam's so right on that, because I'm sure the guys will agree. You go back 15 years in staffing, our industry was so different to what it is today, and it had a lot of negative connotations and bad practice. And I think our industry has totally changed. And we're a very, very different place to probably when we all started working in this industry, for the good, for the better. And I think what that's enforced organisations to do is to embrace change. There's still a lot of recruiters out there who I think attempt to do things the old way, the old school way, 100 dials a day, all that kind of stuff. New rules around all of this stuff. And those that embrace change and understand it's a different way of doing things, which I think certainly ChapmanBlack and Phaidon do, will continue to grow and prosper.
Well, I think one of the things, guys, is you're right. Our industry has changed a lot. Let's look across our panel. Not one of us is wearing a tie today. We've got a slightly, right? We're a slightly more relaxed bunch than we might have been 15 years ago, which I think is helping to drive our business better. We all look like marketing guys now, don't we, Louis? So, finally, guys, let's just have that last little whip around for each one of you. What's that sort of top tip you would have to someone who wants to be a great company to work for? Adam?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is, and Kieran's touched on this, you've got to have a vision about the type of company you want to be, and that needs to filter down to everything, including what types of people work for your business, etc., how innovative you want to be. And if you, as a leadership team, drive that vision throughout the business, constantly refer to it, you will bond your whole company around that, and everyone will act and drive towards achieving that vision. And that, for us, is the single most powerful thing here. Everybody at ChapmanBlack knows what our company vision is. They know what role they play within it. And I think that for me is the fundamental element.
All right, Graeme, your top tip?
Alan, I've got 3.
Of course you do. The guy that had a 4-point plan has 3 top tips.
My 3 top tips are: number 1, transparency. Really important. Be open, be transparent, admit your mistakes, and from transparency also comes giving your leadership team a mandate. Number 2 is adaptability. It's really important to understand and adapt to your staff's needs. And number 3 is similar to what Adam said. It's all about values. Embed them from the beginning of the journey and drive them through everything that you do in your company.
All right, that's brilliant. Kieran, I hope they left you something to add. Is your top tip to be a great company to work for?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of all boils down to that. I mean, I think one of the first things is if that's what you want to do, set it as a goal, and enter things like this. Speak to your employees about wanting to be a top company to work for. Get their feedback on where they think you're at. Do they think that's a good idea? Do they think you already are one? I think one of the first steps is again making clear that this is something you value and you want to do, and then you'll find that people who work for you will naturally, who really find this topic interesting and love engagement and culture, come forward and say, yeah, I've got ideas, or I want to help you make this transformation from where we are now to where we want to be. So it's very easy to kind of go, yeah, we want to be great, but actually we don't really want to change stuff. We don't really want to have too many ideas. We just want people to think we're great. So you've got to have, again, the transparency and everything we talked about, but I think also that the desire to become one, and also that willingness to attempt things and try ideas and seeing, did it work? Did we get the outcome we wanted from that? Yes or no? Let's try it. I think if you don't adapt and just think, right, well, we've got a structure, we're very rigid, we just hope that will mean that we're great. If you're not great already, then it probably doesn't. You need to have that desire to do it and that ability to realize that people have good ideas. And again, particularly the employees who work for you, you'd be amazed if you sit down and ask people, look, we want to be a great company. We think we're pretty good right now. What do you think would make us better? That's one of the first things you could do, and just start listening to what they say and then take it from there.
That's fantastic. Appreciate that. Guys, look, this has been a terrific show. 3 obviously great companies to work for, well-deserved place in the list, and looking forward to seeing you continue to climb that list. And also, thank you very much for investing your time with us today. I think that also gives a good example of why you are a great company to work for, that your leaders are willing to invest time in promoting the business and talking about what does make you great. Louis, I'm going to kick it over to you. What are we doing? What are we doing next?
Well, firstly, I'll get the highlights from the Rec Hangout out to everyone who's watching and signed up. That'll be the highlights from our guests here today on SlideShare, so it's a bit more digestible and you can share that around and do what you will with it. Our next show is on the 29th of April. I don't know if I can say this, Alan. It's called Why Are We Still Ballsing Up the Recruiting Basics for Candidates and Losing Revenue? That was the original title. I think that's still the title, isn't it? Have we changed that?
That works for me.
Yeah, Greg Savage is joining us. He's very well known, especially in Australia, but he's been touring at the moment around Europe. We're going to get another couple of other guests on as well, and it's going to be a good show. Greg Savage is very good. He's been on before. He knows his stuff, so it's worth coming on to listen to him. Alan, if I could mention something we're doing with another webinar that a colleague are doing. This is called the Recruiters Masterclass. It's actually a charity webinar for the Cystic Fibrosis Trust. We're doing it where all proceeds will go to the CF Trust. And we've got 5 recruitment experts coming on from Barclay Jones, Lisa Jones, Johnny Campbell from Social Talent, Catherine the Sorceress, Andy Hedworth from Serona, and Roy Ripper, they've all been on the show before actually. They're coming on for a week-long webinar training course, one show a morning for 5 days, and we want to raise £10,000 for Cystic Fibrosis Trust. So if anyone's interested, there'll be something on our website soon for you to come along and watch, and one ticket the whole office can watch. All goes to CF Trust. Sorry for that plug, but it's a good cause, and there's someone at colleague that it's very important to, so we're pushing that out. That's in May, on the 18th of May. I think that's everything. We'll send out all the details, the replays and the recording of this Hangout to everyone who signed up. Thank you very much. All UK Recruiter will have its follow-up blog as well, notes from the RecHangout, linking to lots of resources and culture and employer branding and Sunday Times. I think that's everything. I just thank you very much to our 3 guests for coming on. It's much appreciated. Great show.
All right, great show, everybody. Looking forward to engaging with you more in the future.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.